All right, here we go, folks. Welcome. Take it away, B.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, please put your hands together and clap them like you just do care for our next guest. He's the OG from the old school, and you better take a knee or play the fool if you want smoke with this king of cool. He's the head lion tamer at Animal Fest, and this gamer is better than the rest. This Joyzy Jammer is a hot smoking chain slammer who drives and drills and always delivers the thrills. He's got aces in big places in so many different spaces, and he can spin and roll and throw them in from anywhere USA. His Gramps pimped Boss Candy, but now this dandy will crimp your hot stamps and make you dance like a simp. He's got a BFA from WPU. He's the best around, and he's better by far than him and me and you. Next on the tee from Warwick, New York, Steve, the father of the Twinsters, Brinster.
What's up, boys?
Hey.
Thanks so much for joining us, buddy. We really appreciate you. It's been a long time, way too long. I haven't been, I think it's since 2009 at the USDGC that I saw you. And that's, again, far too long.
Wow.
But thanks to this kind of method and to the virtuality of it all, here we are face to face again. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. Thanks for having me.
Nice. Mace, why don't you set it up the framework for our people out there? Who's
All right, so from a golf standpoint, courtesy of Statmando, or we found this information. Actually, B found this information on Statmando. Career wins, you've got 108, and you've got 209 podiums. You've got 333 top tens, and you've cashed 395 times out of 434 events, which is super impressive. And the total for that cash wise is $226,567, which is nothing to balk at. You know, that's pretty impressive, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, gosh, I've been at it a long time. So I've had my opportunities to, put up some stats. Certainly was never a full tour guy. I was never, I think maybe the most tournaments I ever played in a season was 23, 24 events. So I've never been one of those 30, 40 event style guys, but almost always finding myself at the big ones. Played the world championships from 99 up until last year in Open. I did play the Masters Worlds last year, finding it hard to do both. And, I've got, played every USDGC since 99, except for one. I missed 2000. So yeah, a lot of those have been the majors. So I'm still plan on continuing to do that. Those are important to me. I think it certainly reflects, who I was. It just loved being part of those events and part of what shaping, helping shape what disc golf is today. And then of course there's always been, the steady ones, the local events that are just my favorites that I end up hitting. And and now as my career's, progressed, now I try and find something new every year. That's kind of like my new initiative. Let me find something new. Let me travel somewhere new that I haven't been to in a long, ever or in a long time, and try and get a new experience, and I have no complaints, man. It's been an awesome ride.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I didn't realize it had been for 29 years, but then the more I thought about it, I think, how old were you when you came down and worked for Al? You were pretty young.
So I was down in Austin in 98.
Right. So that was when I remember first getting to meet you and shoot, how old were you then?
18.
18. So that, yeah. So that explains it. Yeah, that definitely met you when you were younger. But that's the interesting thing too, is like I've known you for 25 years now, and I know, like you just said when we were talking earlier, you're only 42, but I've known you a lot of those 42 years and have had a lot of good times with you in different places and stuff like that. So
absolutely, man. Absolutely. Too many to count, but yeah, it's that's part of what makes it great, is not just playing those events and, and having success at some of them, but the people you meet and the good times you have on the course, off the course, all that, the relationships you build. I mean, that's what kind of keeps you coming back.
Absolutely.
For sure. So, you know, you've been a steady part of that for a long time, and B, some of the experiences we've had. I mean, you DJ'd my wedding, you know, so
That was
it's
awesome.
you know, which we were talking about just the other day, and you know, the after party and all.
Oh yeah.
So we've had many good times, and yeah, you know, if I think we're all in it for all those same reasons, man, building good friendships and experiences.
You know,
Yeah, without a doubt.
you mentioned that you guys were talking about last night. One of the things that Natalie and I talk about frequently, semi-frequently, and certainly she brings this up as a story to pretty well anyone who will listen, is at your wedding. She still, I mean, your wedding was just incredible, and where you were, where the place that you had the wedding was the, the special castle-like inn in Warwick. It was
Yeah,
beautiful.
chateau.
And each room was kind of like a different, it was built differently. It was, the Jenkins party room was incredible. Every room was different. But the story Natalie tells is, I was DJing, so I would sit down and eat something and then get back up and work the mix a bit. And it was just, the dinner time music, but still had to keep going. So she was by herself at the table, and she found herself at the end of one section of the table, and right across from her was Craig Gangloff. And it was like at the end of the meal or whatever, and he was sated and full, and he leans back in his chair, and then he tilts his chair back, and he's doing this big "Ah." Now, I mentioned that this castle is filled with many nooks and crannies. Well, they had some kind of veil or tapestry over the wall that was hiding a door, an open door leading to another room. So he just goes, and Natalie looked away for a second. He fell backwards through the opening. The tapestry came back into place. She looks back and she's like, where did he go? What happened? And then, like, literally 3 seconds later, he comes out ripping the tapestry. What happened? Who did that?
It sounds like something that would happen to me.
Wow, I can't believe I've never heard that story. So that's awesome.
So listen, let's take this back. I know that one of the reasons why we're doing this show is obviously to reconnect with friends, but at the same time, there are a whole heck ton of new golfers, especially people who, since COVID, who've joined, and that's amazing and all. But we're in danger of losing the stories, especially the early stories. I mean, we want to talk about all things disc golf, but one of the things that started this for us was we want to preserve and archive those kind of stories. So we always want to go back and talk about the origin stories for each of our guests. Now, I've heard in another interview that you first started playing in 1994. Take us there.
Yep.
You're 14 years old. How do you find out about this? And what was your first disc?
So 1994, 14-year-old kid. Like most kids, there's nothing to do in this town. This town's boring. And we were watching MTV Sports, and we saw disc golf on that. And we mentioned it to my father's friend, and he's like, yeah, we've got a course right in town. And it ended up being like 5-10 minutes bike ride in between like my best friend's house and mine. And it was like, let's go. So we scrapped up whatever little bank frisbees we could find, and got dropped off or rode up there for whatever. And we're trying to figure out what's going on with this whole disc golf thing. And then there's a couple other dudes out there playing, and we're watching them, and they're throwing it real far and totally different kind of action than what we're getting from the discs. And so we started, we kind of lingering around with them. And so on the very first day we're there, these guys ended up, they got the hint, like these, and they came over and they gave us each a disc.
Nice.
Nice.
And that ended up being Dave Balkema and Tom Pressey, who I grew up playing with and became very good friends with. Dave Balkema was PDJ 792. So he's a super early on player and member. And so he gave us, I had a hammer, I believe an 86 Softy and a San Marino Rock were amongst the first discs that I got. And they gave us a couple, I want to say they gave us like maybe like two each, and of course those were far superior to what we were showing up with.
Sure they
Um,
were.
and yeah, so that's how we started. It wasn't long before we were playing a bunch of rounds. It was close enough for me where I could ride up there and just play like 5 rounds in a day, on that style course. And being the competitive person that I was, I wanted to just go and beat my friends. And so that was like fall of '94. And then the first, come the February of '95, there was an event there. It was an ice bowl, and the three of us signed up for juniors at the 1995 Buzzies Creek Ice Bowl in New Jersey. And so that was my first event ever. And we were, pretty much competing against ourselves, but it wasn't long before they, but in those days, it was just like, you were told when you were moving up, like, no, next, and they pretty much told me immediately that I was into the next division, which I don't even think was AM2 at the time. I think the next event that I don't think I ever played an AM2 event. I think the next event was an advanced tournament. And yeah, it happened quick, man. I was hooked.
Well, I mean, true lifers, that's what happens. It's like that thunder flash, that lightning bolt from heaven. It just sears their vision. That's now all they can see on the landscape, or baskets, or wearing more baskets, or how do I get into this further, so that it's like a hunger that they can't ever be sated,
I call it
Yep.
the Sweet 16 syndrome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the one for me. She's the one for me. There's no one better. It's her,
Now, just to
Yeah,
put
so-
this in perspective, before you get in there, Mace, I just want to say
Go
the
ahead.
town, when you say the town you were growing up in, that was West Milford, New Jersey.
That's right. Yeah.
And I forgot to say this, but that's actually also the hometown of Derek Jeter. You currently live in Warwick, which is now where Derek Jeter also lives. So I think he's biting your style, bro.
Yeah, well, I knew about the West Milford ties with Jeter, but I didn't know that he currently had something going on in Warwick, which is interesting. So yeah, I guess I should do some more research on myself, or because you're
I
coming up with
noticed
some good ones already.
you're a Yankees fan.
Yeah,
I was
watching them
checking out your
up
profile.
on Toronto right now.
Oh,
Oh.
Nice. Yeah, so you mentioned you already mentioned two guys that had to have been your early heroes. Was there anybody else that you wanted to add to that list? I mean, obviously those two guys that gave you the discs were beggars, and you just happened to get lucky and meet the right people at the right time right off the bat. That's
Yeah,
definitely not
they
something that happens
certainly.
for everybody, but usually everybody does extend that hand to everybody. So
And that's what's great about disc golf, right? And they did go above and beyond, besides, ultimately being really good friends. But it's not every day that somebody, especially first time meet them, just handing you a stack of discs and stuff. So they're tremendously good people. But yeah, I mean, I certainly would have to mention Matty LaCourte. He was kind of the top dog in the area. And he wasn't shy about helping me out in every way that he could, giving me plastic as well. I mean, you're 14, 15, 16 years old, and at that time, it's not like you could just go buy something online, and have
you
it
had to find
shipped
the
to your
right
door.
person.
So it was like when and the right person came by and they had some discs in their trunk or something like that. That's when you had to take advantage. And then of course Scott Wolf, who has passed, but he was instrumental. Probably a little bit later, in the later '90s, but he was, probably 96, 97, 98, didn't have a driving license not yet. And he would, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't great to be hanging out with a 16, 17-year-old kid, but we'd go to tournaments together, and, he'd drive me and we'd go down to Maryland, and he'd drive me back up and meet up with my parents. And, so he was instrumental in getting me out to some of these events that it wouldn't have been possible without. So, you know, those two guys for sure were a big part of it, you know. Had I not gotten to some of those and, you know, had it fuel my fire, whether it be with a good, you know, good showing or a win, you know, and then who knows, you know, maybe I burn out. So it's crazy how you end up getting to where you're going sometimes. But those guys, you know, definitely honorable mentions there with you know, just the success of my career.
Those are, I mean, definitely we're gonna need people to, if most of the people who are following along with us, they already know all the old people in the stories, but if anybody new does find us, Matt LaCourte, Joe Mela, Mike Moser, you know, these are the big guys from, and these are the guys that you would have had to, like, they were the top four, that if you want to break in, you got to take one of those guys down. And
Yeah,
that's
it
a
was
problem.
so tough. I mean, I still think about that. I mean, it wasn't just and they're still good, you know. But
Hey,
between
let me
Jim
jump in there
Myers,
before we get too far from that. I'm jumping ahead just a second, but B said B's got a bunch of stats down here. And in '97, you took fifth at the Eric C. Yetter Memorial. And listen to the people
That's
who are in this on this list. And only one person that B didn't just mention right there was Jim Myers, who took first, then Matt LaCourte, then Mike Mosier, then Joe Mela, then yourself. I mean, dude, that's rare air right there. That's amazing, you know.
and that's your first year as a pro. You turned pro in '97, and the Eric C. Yetter always happens like late September or October, I believe. And
yep,
so your first full year playing pro, first full season, which you didn't play a lot of events, but you take fifth at the Eric C. Yetter. And man,
To an
that,
all-star class.
that is an all-star class.
so the year before, I so I played as an advanced player, and I showed up 6 holes late. And at the time, it was par plus 3. I don't not, and so I essentially accrued 18 penalty strokes, and I'm pretty sure that I lost by 1 at the end of the event. Was it 3?
3.
It was 3. Okay, I might have had it down to 1 at one point. I forget. I got it close, and that pretty sure that was my last. That was like, okay, it's time to move up.
Now at that
So yeah,
tournament, the fourth annual Eric Yetter, you beat Kevin Lebowski by a stroke. And that's how I met you in Toronto, because he drove you up to Toronto. He was your riding partner.
yep.
Was he an early disc golf friend, or was that just you guys just happened to be going along the same way?
Yeah, I a little of both, you know. I mean, I would say that he didn't travel a ton. Neither one of us were traveling a ton at that point. And but we did somehow connect on that. We did only a couple events, but you know, still remain friends to this day. And I haven't seen him in a bit. He's not playing a ton these days. But certainly you know, a familiar face, you know, is always good to connect
One of the
with.
nicest guys ever, too. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, he was the best.
I miss running into him for sure.
Totally, man. Yeah, no, he was always great. And you know, I think I saw him probably about 2 years ago. And you know, it's definitely just, you know, kind of pick up where we are, you know. Hope everyone's doing well, you know, and that type of thing. But yeah, so but yeah, 97 and the late 90s and early 2000s. I mean, yeah, trying to win an event in the Mid-Atlantic region with Moser, Mela, Gangloff got really hot
Oh
in
yeah,
that
we didn't
stretch too.
mention
I
him.
mean, where like even when Kenny came up to like Patapsco and a bunch of those events and Krager was beating him. I mean, Jim Myers was winning world championships at that point, and
John
I mean
Fowler.
he'd throw bombs. Yeah, I mean those you know, so Mela, Myers, LaCourte, Moser, Gangloff. You'd have to go through 5 of them. Hope one of them is not having a good event. And
And then there's
didn't happen
5 or
often.
10 people like you right behind him trying to cut him off at the knees on top of it. I mean, that's one of those things people talk about. Oh, well, I don't need to travel. Well, you're not the only one in your region that doesn't travel. There's other regions that they're in the same situation, you know. You can go out and find top talent in most of these regions.
Mace, you're kind of cutting out a little bit there, buddy. Are
Oh,
you hearing that as well?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was me or him, but yeah, I heard a little. Yeah, those guys are super underrated too. You know, at the end of the day, I mean,
Right.
Moser's got like 230 wins or something. I mean, he's still out there, and I saw him recently, and I'm amazed by his passion still to play as many events as he does, and his love of the game. And you know, Joey, that guy, I don't know if anybody has more passion for watching a disc fly than him, you know. So
Well, if there's going to be a Fantastic Five, that's a pretty good core group. Now, if we just continue from 97, 98, you're nominated for Rookie of the Year. You go out on tour quite a bit more, but this time as far as Ohio. But it's 99 that we see you playing tournaments in Texas. You go to Rochester for your first Worlds, and you get cash at your first Worlds. That's pretty huge. You go to your first USDGC, and guess what? You and Mace tied for 51st.
I never thought that.
nice.
And then you cap off the year of 1999 with your first pro win. You win at Warwick Animal Fest, beating Jim Myers by 7.
Wow.
Nice.
That's
All
that's some. So, you know, obviously, that question there, how far away is West Milford from Warwick? Were you able to go? Is Warwick at the time when you're growing up? Would it be?
Yeah, next town over.
Okay.
Next town over, but yeah, 99 is right when we put the course in. So, you know, I helped design and build that course. So that was the first year. So it probably helped a little bit knowing the course well enough. You know, certainly early on career too, you know, I mean, it having that home course advantage was a big advantage. But yeah, that's anytime, like I said, you're beating one of those guys at that in those years, yeah, you were doing something right.
Yeah, so that reminds me too that I've got a mutual friend of yours, Scott Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, how's he doing?
He's doing good, man. He's doing good. He was came up and played my course 2 weekends ago. I see him weekly. Yeah, you know, he still love doing tournaments, and you know, we often travel together. We'll be up in Vermont in a month or so, and yeah, I've got a good group of friends that you know, we still like having a good time, playing some disc golf, enjoy each other's company. You know, we're not, you know, I'm still playing a lot of, you know, super competitive. Some of them have dialed it back a little bit. Cutler's still playing a lot of events, but yeah, it's still, you know who your boys are, and it's always good. Yeah, so he's one of them.
I don't remember where I met him, but I remember when I came through your area one time when I had that trail. I was towing that trailer that year, and I showed up over there, and he was there already in his Jeep, and he goes, "Hey, let's go get some lunch. Did you eat already?" And I was like, "No," and I was like, "All right." So I jumped in his Jeep, and we pulled out of the park at Warwick, and we turned right. And this was before there was 2 baskets on every hole. It was still just single baskets. And I don't know, I don't remember. It's been a long time, so I don't remember the drive or anything. But man, we probably didn't get more than a block away from that entry, and this deer just comes jetting down the slope on the right. And like right when he would have hit that deer in the head, it turned and went right back where it came from. And we were both just like, did we just see that? Like, did that really happen? You know, and it was just like one of those things, like if we had been, you know, maybe a second faster, we'd have definitely hit that deer. And it was just one of those crazy things, like I'll never forget that, you know. And
Yeah.
and it was like I hadn't forgotten it, but I looked when I saw a picture of you playing foosball with a couple other guys and Scott, and I was like, oh, I know that cat. Oh yeah, I remember that time when we damn near hit that deer. You know?
Nice.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So anyways, you your numbers 10628, so obviously that tells the story a lot of the story. You know, most of the time tournaments, I mean, that's easily a low number at most of the tournaments you show up to. Well, except for maybe in your region. That's probably a high, that's probably still a high number in your region, isn't it?
Well, I mean, so many of the events now are, you know, either open only or it's not that often that you see events that even, or if there's separate days that you've got some grandmasters and stuff like that in. So I'd say 90% of the events that I'm playing, I'm the lowest or close to it. Sometimes Simon sneaks ahead of me because they had a batch of European numbers that they gave him. So
Alright.
he's a 7,000s. But yeah, certainly any DGPT, I'm usually in at least that top couple, 2 or 3 at worst. But the scary thing for me is that quite often what I'm seeing is that I'm playing with a bunch of dudes that are like 130, 130,000 PDGA number, and meanwhile my kids are 54,000.
Nice.
So,
So-
that definitely makes you feel a little older as you're
Well, that's what I was thinking about that, because I remember you, I think it was on one of the videos I saw, you were saying that Nate and Val bought the PDJ numbers for the twins. And I was thinking that, well, now Leighton's starting to play his own tournaments, but if or when both of them are playing, say, in their teens and starting to play pro, their numbers are going to seem like out of time, like they're time travelers. Like, what, you're 16 and you've got a 5-digit PDG. How does this happen? Were you given it at birth? Yes, they were. So do you
Yeah.
remember the circumstances of your PDGA number when you got it, where you got it?
I remember just being in 96 and that, it was recommended to me. I thought it was a cool thing, seeing everyone else's PDJ numbers. And, I was all in at that point, so it was just like, let's do it. I used to get a pretty cool little package there and some plastic and, all that good stuff. So yeah, it seemed like a no-brainer. Now I even, there's a bunch of my friends that my kids are lower and they were playing tournaments long before they were born, but just weren't doing PDGA, and it wasn't required, especially for Bs and C tiers and stuff like that. Some of those rules have changed a little bit, but yeah, it's we were looking at the stats the other day. I'm pretty sure he was the lowest PDJ number in U12 for the World Championships. So yeah, he's already seeing the effects of that.
Nice. So we're gonna throw out a couple of quick questions here, kind of before we delve deeper into your playing career, but just a couple of quick questions about your favorites. And I'm going to start us off. Of all the discs out there, if you were trapped on a desert island and you could only play with one disc for the rest of your life, what's your favorite disc? What's the one disc?
Rock.
Ooh, I thought of it. What's that Millennium Upshot disc you used?
Sentinel.
Oh yeah, I thought it might be a Sentinel. But so what's your favorite course?
Oh gosh, I
that's
get
so
asked that
subjective.
question, and it's like, is it like my favorite one just to play for fun? My favorite tournament course? Is it, it's hard to. They're all kind of different answers for me. What I have the most fun at is completely different than what I think is the best course, or what I think is the best, tournament course. Because as we talked about earlier, I mean, a tournament course now is challenging top tier pros. Is quite honestly, it's not very fun for most people.
Sure.
So it's like, it's hard to answer, or nor would it be a course that I would want to play on a regular basis. It's the demands physically of trying to reach a bunch of 480-foot par threes and long carries and stuff like that. That's not as fun as it used to be when I was in my early 20s.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
I really enjoy courses that offer up more birdies, more chance for success and stuff like that. That's more fun for me. But I don't know, one course that I just go and I just have fun at is Nantucket. That's something, and it's certainly always, we've been, Leslie and I've been doing that for several years now. And, it's kind of also, I guess, a vacation Todd Rainwater, treats us so well out there, and with the event and the experience, and then it is the kind of course that we're pushing big numbers. Certainly double digits. I watched Joel Freeman, go 17 for 17 in an amazing round. He missed the last one, which in a lot of people's eyes would say that the course is soft. It's not made for that skill level tournament, but at the same time, it's like one of the most fun courses that I can go and play. It's flat, it's not strenuous. Offers a lot of birdies. Get to see the disc fly. So, it's a tough question to put, a one-word answer to, for sure.
Yeah, I can't do that either. I can't just give it one course. I also like to throw in proximity. I mean, where am I right now? I like that one. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
depending on whose neighborhood you're in. So
Well, that's going to help us refine for the questions for the next guest, because that's true. Best tournament course, best fun course, best Mando beer in the hand course. Those are all different questions, different courses, for sure.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'd expand on that a little bit. In a couple of the ski hole courses that I've designed, Sugar Bush and Blue Mountain. I mean, those courses offer shots, and when you execute them well, there's nothing more fun than seeing the disc fly and do its thing down a big hill, and when it goes bad and you lose your good plastic, that's not. But if you're can navigate that course successfully, that's about as much fun as you could have. So there's a lot of right answers, I guess.
That's a good
yeah. Well, and Mando bag dumps are always awesome. Oh, I gotta throw another. Oh, I gotta throw another. I want to do that one more time.
Well, that leads into maybe you've already answered this, but the best course or your favorite course that you've designed. Is it Sugar Bush?
Yeah, I mean, Sugar Bush has got to be up there, and it certainly wasn't, I wasn't the only one in there. I mean, Jeff Springs had his hands all over that course with me, and the whole crew that, decides and maintains it and decides, on trees and stuff like that. But no doubt, that's been a great thing to be a part of, and to watch that evolve. And, it's unique, and the two courses, and I've had a lot to do with Brewster as well. So we got Brewster and Brewster Ridge and Fox Run, and the two of them just complement each other so well. And then you add in the whole experience of what Smugs is, the facilities that surround it, whether it's hiking, biking, swimming, cliff jumping, Fall Fest, everything that place has to offer, and you add that with two elite level courses that complement each other, amazingly well. I mean, that's definitely what I would consider my favorite course that I've designed.
Sweet.
Nice. So, who's your favorite course designer?
I mean, it's Hauck does so many things right. And we've talked a lot, and we just did a session down in Arizona where we both spoke for elite level course design. And I love picking his brain. I wouldn't say that we 100% see eye to eye on everything. He does not like OB ropes, especially, where they're manufactured. I think that there's a time and a place for them. I'd rather not have them. He would do everything in his power to eliminate them. But, I think that they're in this day and age, especially, that there's a place there, in creating scoring separation, creating threats for golfers. The era of disc golf right now, in a lot of places, and maybe it's dialing back a little bit, but it's just been straight attack. No consequences, no real consequences, or no real thought of not attacking, and I think as a designer, I want to provoke people to think and to play golf and to make adjustments. So, to bring that full circle, John does that in a lot of different ways. With his courses, I certainly have immense amount of respect for what he's doing. He's been doing it a long time and doing it really well. I I see so many good things that he does, and you don't see a lot of the mistakes that normal designers. So definitely John.
Okay,
Did
so let's
you-
talk about. Oh,
When
sorry,
you
go
when
ahead.
you were working for him, just one more thing to add to that. When you were working for him, were you studying any of that at that time, or were you just mostly playing and packing boxes and
Yeah, I mean, I was mostly just a sponsored player at that time. I had another job while it was in Austin, but I made my way out to Wimberley, and he gave me my first chance of being a sponsored player with Millennium, and so whether it was those courses or the other courses in Austin, it's something that I've always been interested in. It was probably about, I think it was 97. I did a redesign at Buzzy's Creek, and in 98, I designed my first 9-holer at a camp up in a local area, and it was private camp. It was never a public course, but they bought 9 baskets, and we designed a 9-holer. So it was pretty early on, that I had passion for it and felt, that I had a good understanding of it, and wanted to, be involved in that stuff, and then 99, obviously Warwick was, I had my hands all over that too, which has become, one of the better courses, certainly in the region, if not, all of the Northeast and world. So uh, it happened pretty quick for me that I wanted to be involved in that. I'm an artist, and it's a 3-dimensional canvas. You get to combine all those awesome things in nature into the sport you love. So it's a great fit for me.
Now, just shifting from courses to tournaments, favorite tournament to play?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, USDGC always holds a place in my heart because long before I won, and I've said this in other interviews, and I think that's probably what led me to winning, is that it just meant so much to me. I remember the first time, especially those first couple years, where it just felt so professional. It felt like I wanted the game to go to, where we hoped it had gone to, where all the people prior to us hoped it would go to, being a professional, being treated like a real athlete. Um, it was just the next level. And it was like every year I found myself driving on that property and still getting goosebumps. So that just brought a whole nother feeling into over me that just made it that much more enjoyable. And as I just mentioned, I think like wanting it that bad and having that much passion behind and feelings behind it, I think is what ultimately led me to eventually winning that thing.
yeah, that was definitely memorable. I feel a lot of those same feelings too when I drive on that place. I mean, it's just, and even if I happen to be there earlier in the year, it's just one of those things where you go and I mean, even like I'm looking forward to seeing your son out there. He and I were trading texts earlier this week about that, on his Instagram, and I thought it was really cool that that you guys went to that Jersey Devils game and everything. But it's cool that those connections there. It's like it's a family reunion. I mean, it's not like it is a family reunion, and it's like he's like one of my nephews. You know what I mean? I look forward to seeing him. I only see him once or twice a year, anyways. But it's just such a special place. And then this year's the 25th, so that's really going to be off the hook. We've been looking forward to that a lot already, me and B.
Yeah, and I've talked with JP and Harold and Andrew about course design and stuff there, and that event has always felt to me a lot like the Masters of golf, and uh, I think what's really cool and what they have, when we all watch the Masters and we watch these guys go through Amen Corner and stuff, where we're reliving things that we've seen in videos or watched in the past and all these things, and we have this experience to set a standard to, and that's kind of what is going on at USDGC. And everybody knows what the finish is. Everybody knows what's that coming down the stretch, what the history is of people who have triumphed and failed. on 17, and everyone knows that this next person's going to have to do it. And it has this interaction, like it gives people that makes them feel so much more connected to it than they do at other events. And a couple of years ago, they were talking about potentially tweaking that and maybe not having that be the finish. And I was like, you guys can't do that. This is part of becoming a champion, is having to overcome not just your own fears, but everybody else's fears, that go along with that. The little bit more of a hush over the crowd, that once it settles down on 17 or doesn't settle down. I remember having to, like wait longer for some stragglers to go, and I was ready to go, and those types of things.
It's
So
even
yeah,
past the hush though. It's almost like a vacuum. It's almost like it's not just the air out of there; it's the air sucked back out. And
Well, since we're on the topic of the championship, here's a sweet little video of your championship, your 2013 USDGC title, one of very few people who got their names on it. But for anybody who's never seen, obviously they need to make the pilgrimage down there to see this course. And it's just like you say,
October would be a really good time for that.
The fixed nature of it, the fact that you can always, like right now, you could be sitting there tonight to help yourself go to sleep, envisioning, here you are, you're waiting for Andy Green to start you up. And you can envision, okay, what am I going to throw on this hole? Let's see, depending on the wind. You played it so many times. There you go. There's the iconic opening hole. Well, we've got you saying some really wise stuff there too. But
yeah, I remember that week a lot, and what a good card to play with there, from Schustrick, Rico, and Doss for a majority of it, going down, last couple of rounds. I mean, they were just, not just competitors, but, friends. And we all kind of had this like rooting for each other attitude, in a lot of ways. So yeah, it was, I was staying, we were with Nate in the same house. We had an Airbnb on the lake. And, if anything was going well this week, it was just, I was putting, and gosh, if I could have putted a little bit better, I could have had a lot more wins. I certainly felt like there was stretches of my career where I was the best driver in the world, and I just couldn't put the putter in the basket. But it was working this week, and and thankfully so. Because that was obviously a big monkey off your back, and wins don't hand out wins. It's a short list of people,
especially not there.
Yeah, exactly. You got to earn it.
There's only 24 of you right now, dude.
Yeah, that place is, I'd have to say is the hardest, because you're not going to get away with any nervy shots there.
And the Twinsters were toddlers when you won it. Holy cow, dude! I didn't even realize that.
That's one of the most heartening things you've ever seen, right there. You hugging the Twinsters and Leslie right there. I mean, but everybody, this is one. The general consensus is that you are an all-around class gentleman, that you are really respected for your character and demeanor on the course. And look at this love. I mean, everybody's coming up to you. That's just genuine, honest expressions of love. People are lining up waiting to give you a hug. I think
man, it was quite the experience. It certainly was. It's trying to think of the right word. It was just, it wasn't more than just a monkey off my back. It just kind of put a stamp on a lot of hard work. Throughout my entire career, I put myself in good position at a lot of big tournaments, but it's hard to come through. I mean, I remember, I think it was 2001. I was played the last, so as early as 2001, I put myself in position. I was on the lead card, and I was playing with Kenny, Barry, and Ron Russell, and then me. And I didn't fare too well. I remember going for shots. I remember rushing, all sorts of things, looking back, doing amateur things and stuff like that, so it took, a lot of tries, a lot of lead cards at that event to gain the experiences that I did to, finally be able to pull it off.
Yeah, I know you, in some videos you've talked about the necessary, pressures of winning or losing on a big stage, playing in front of crowds, playing on the lead card. That's only helped your mental strength, your confidence, your determination, because you can go back to those instances. You take mental comfort in knowing this is nothing new, and you can take your mind off that and focus on other things.
You can, if you're doing it right. I think the future of the sport, some people have found themselves to be able to do that and self-reflect and be coachable within their own heads. And other people haven't, it's, I definitely would have to give some credit to even some of my friends. My friend Craig, after watching the first round, I had a decent lead, and then the second round, I slipped and I wasn't putting. We talked that night, and he's like, you were like 2 seconds too fast on your putts, and that could be nerves. My caddy at was Jeff Spring, for that event. And so we had a lot of talks, and he was a calming force, through a lot of the rounds, and helping me make good decisions. He probably didn't know my game extremely well enough to know like the exact timing of my routines and stuff like that to see changes. But, that kind of stuff happened to me. It made me realize that I wish I figured some of that stuff out sooner, than 2013. Because, had I not maybe got that tip, maybe I don't make that adjustment in the next rounds. And, had I gotten that tip 10 years earlier, maybe I was winning one then, so it makes me think a lot about what the future of the sport's going to be, with coaching and caddies that are in tune with a player's game. I think the hard thing now is for most players, a caddy is not going to know as much as the top rated player does, but now we're starting to get guys like me, and, not that we didn't have, but you're starting to get more of a crop of people that have experience that a younger player would maybe actually rely on, and listen to. So I think it's pretty interesting what we're going to find in the future. As the sport continues to grow, because it's it's pretty impressive what some of these players are doing out there. And
that really makes a difference too. I've noticed it, like, Sarah Holcomb used to work for me, and Chris Zagone came and worked for me one year, the last year that they were here together, and I saw them two or three different times on the course after that. And it was just obvious. I was like, holy cow, you guys are really clicking, and this is working well for both of you, especially from the player standpoint, and so I think that's really interesting, the opportunity that's out there for other people that aren't necessarily playing, there's a lot more going on the tour, and, just in the sport, generally speaking, than just a player or a vendor from a vendor or a player standpoint.
Yeah, no, it's great to watch.
So let's talk about wins. You got a lot of them, but most of the ones that B picked out are repeats. And
Well,
so
I picked out all of his repeats, like his
picked out
big
all of his repeats. All right,
the
so
big ones.
let me run through these real quick, because there's a little bit of info here, but it's pretty interesting. Like, you're definitely you've got repeat performances in a few places. New Jersey Jam being the one, not the one with the most, but almost the most. But you got 96, 06, 08, 11, 12, 13, 14, 19. And then at Warwick Animal Fest, you got 99 and 2000, and then 10, 11, and 12. The Warwick Disc Golf Championships, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And then Brandywine Windjammers, 4 and 5. Eric Yetter, 05, 06, 05, 07, 09. The New York State Disc Golf Championships, 04, 05, and then 10. And then the one that you've won the most, the Mighty Gaw, 07, 08, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21, 23. And then the TIO, that's not multiple times, Paul, it's just once.
No, I just slipped. I slipped that for multiple Toronto references.
So what's up with the Mighty God? What's the story on that tournament?
That's the most recent one.
I've never heard.
Yeah,
So I
I
was
just won
curious
that
what
last
was.
week again.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's actually a course that I designed. It's about 30 minutes from us. It's all over a ski hill. And we play it at this time of year because the grass is still short enough and it's like kind of in between season. It's normally 18 holes that go up and around the top and then back down. But when it's in the Mighty Gall layout, where those combine into, 9 holes around and then the other 9 on the ski hill. And yeah, that place has treated me well. I have put some incredible rounds together, and not sure exactly why. But I mean, I remember shooting a 41, like 15 under is one of my more, highly rated rounds. I think it was 1093. I've got every course record on every layout possible at that place, and by a lot. I mean, some of them I'm just like, I'm throwing things in, and it's like everything just seems to work, for the most part when I go there. So yeah, I just picked up my 12th win there out of 16 times that there's been an event there.
That's
so
dominance.
yeah, it's been good to me, no doubt about it. Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, I could throw uphill pretty well, but there's not that many uphill shots. So, something about that time of year. Certainly, desire to win. Being a track that I know, and and something I feel like that I play well. We've had some extreme conditions there. It like seems like it's like 40 degrees and raining every time there, and sometimes when it's like that, it's more about who wants it the most. So that's probably mixed in there. But yeah, that one's been good to me. And then one of the ones you mentioned, which was Animal Fest, turned into the Warwick Disc Golf Championships. Those are essentially all the same,
That's
all
what
the
I kinda
same
was thinking.
tournament. And that's treated me well too. And
10-time
obviously some
champ.
course knowledge, and yeah, so I've stacked up some on that one too. So yeah, we talked about want and all that before. I think sometimes after you've got a little streak going, or you've got a bunch of wins at something, you want it even more to keep it, keep that streak alive, if you will. So that may even play a factor in there too.
Well, just to that point, I want to play this video real quick here. This is a great video, but this is you. Oh, this is you at the I believe it's the Warwick Championships.
This is so same course, but this was just a B tier event.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so I was down by 4 with 6 to play, and then
you step up to this tee.
yeah.
And this is a par 4.
So yeah, par 4, almost 600 feet, obviously downhill, but thick woods if you get off of it, and it's not easy to get onto the island. You really got to put a pretty good move on it, and there's tons of trouble. And then of course they still had this cherry tree, lining up. So I just barely cleared the river there, and that's kind of the risk if you're going to poke at it, and so I didn't even get a clean look at it, but knew I needed it bad. Was still down, it shows 3 at this point, with not many holes left.
Gorge, an eagle. What is that, like
Yeah.
about a 60-footer?
Yeah, and it needed some kind of little nose up, thing to, that tree is leaning over pretty good. So that was
a huge lean.
I needed that one bad at that point. I was running out of holes.
Well, you certainly know how to put some showmanship on it. And while we've got this, I just said, talking about showmanship, I believe this was an ESPN top 10 highlight. Oops, let me start. What did I just do? Oh, I can't find it now. But it was
Well,
such
you're
a
right.
it was a beautiful shot. You had to carry water. It was 320 feet. It was at Maple Hill. I believe it was hole 8. And
That's the famous hole there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one that, definitely you see at least get once or twice a year, I feel like at this point. It used to be a lot harder, believe it or not. I felt like, but yeah, I'm glad that was, another little notch there. I mean, wanted to be able to say I made it on Sports Center at least once. So this was,
Oh, I just had it there too. There we go.
you asked me what my favorite disc was earlier, and
That's just
shots
all day
shots
long.
like that.
All day long. Wow.
Yeah, that's a pretty one. That's a pretty one. A lot of rock aces, that's for sure.
You've got a lot of aces on video, a lot of rock aces. Are you still at 99 aces or do you have more now?
No, I'm at 159.
We need to update your Intima page, dude.
Yeah, yeah. I'll get on that. Yeah, no, it's still, they get harder to remember. So now I had to start like writing them on the back of my discs in like small pen. I try not to ink it up too much, but it's more for my own, sanity, so I can actually remember how many I'm
Future
at.
reference.
Are you getting to the point now where you have multiple aces on the disc, multiple signatures on that disc?
Yeah, that definitely, because a lot of the stuff that I'm acing with, putters and mid ranges hangs out in the bag for several years. So yeah, there's definitely a few that I got multiples.
Well, I mean, that when you see a shot, especially when you see the disc from behind and it flies. I mean, it's one thing when we get drone technology over top, but you're seeing what we saw there, the camera work. It was as if you were standing on the tee. It was as if we were with you virtually. And I mean, I got goosebumps watching that. I must have seen that about 10 times and I was just getting chills. So you put on a sweet show, my friend. Always.
Yeah, they caught that. That was a good angle. That's not always a camera crew around, so that's the other thing. And well, these days it seems like there is, but there's quite a few out there, when there wasn't a camera on it that would have been nice. But now, I mean,
Well,
it seems like there's always something.
that hole in particular doesn't necessarily lend itself too much to, to giving you too many good angles. I mean, over the shoulder is obviously the most common, but it's not always the best, I mean, really honestly, I kind of like the catch cam a little better at times, but man, it's hard to beat that drone footage too, where they're looking at the top of it coming down. But that, with that water being in the way, it's tough for them to get a good shot there.
Yeah, and
But
I
then
got
that one's
a whole
clean.
6 this year at US, and there was no cameras on it.
Wow.
So that was disappointing. And I remember the crew coming out right after I aced it.
Damn,
So
dude, that's a
did anybody
big one
have it?
too.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I needed
Obviously,
it.
all Monster Highs are on that.
Yep, and just skipped right up into it. So probably will be.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say, you don't hit that one.
yep,
That's a tough one coming back, but
it's at least a 3-stroke swing there.
That's
It was
feature.
kind of like, yeah, it was kind of like a slow, straighter skip. So it was, but probably will be. Yeah.
Now we got some people from Toronto watching this, and I know you've got a bit of a connection to Toronto. So I just want to take a little Toronto detour here and go through your experience. You've been here in Toronto 5 years, 5 separate occasions. Your first was 1999. You're a 19-year-old. I remember it was your birthday soon before you got here, and in the States you're SOL, but here in Toronto, I think we took you out for a first right drink up right before that. I had the TIO as the warm up to the World, so it was a particularly stacked field that year as opposed to other years. And your first visit to the Toronto Island, you take 6th, and of course Climbo won, but that 6th spot finish, that was a pretty good debut performance for you. What was your impression of, first of all, you're in another country. Second of all, you have to take a ferry with all of your belongings to the course, and then you have to
including
walk
lunch.
a mile, including lunch. No, I think we might have taken care of you guys then. But take us back to your initial impressions of Toronto and leaving the States for a disc golf tournament for the first time. And
Yeah, it was amazing, man. I mean, it was a whole different experience on every level. Going, I mean, just going to Toronto and navigating our way to a ferry on in a different country was an adventure in itself. I'm trying to remember who I was even I guess I was
You,
maybe with Lebowski that year.
yeah, and he was with
It
his
was
girlfriend. I
okay.
can't remember what her name was.
I didn't remember if that was 99 or one of the other years, but yeah, trying, so doing all that, and then the island. I mean, one of the things I just loved about that place, it was just the course too. It's the course was awesome, and super fun course to play, and fair and challenging. But yeah, that whole experience, I'll never forget it for sure. And I think I was pretty happy with how I played there. Sixth. I mean, I beat Ron, who won the world championships the next week in Rochester. So, and I don't know that I knew a ton of names. Obviously, I knew Kenny's name at that point, but it was a pretty high profile tournament at the time. I mean, I think everyone used it as a warm up for Worlds. So
here's the field there. We got Kenny coming in first, 6 strokes over Lucky Todd Branch, who won
yeah,
Rookie of the year that you were nominated in 98. And there's our old friend Moser. Al Shack, if you notice, he's got so much money there because he snuck in there and stole a bunch of skins in the
okay.
final. But look at these names. Harold
That's
Hampton. You were
interesting.
2
Because
strokes
I
behind
remember a
Harold.
year when Al couldn't get across.
Yeah, it was after, it might have been after 99.
It had to have been,
Definitely
obviously.
2001, after 9/11, the border really tightened up, and a lot of the reprobates on either side of the border couldn't cross to see their
Those
ancient
damn
presence.
reprobates.
But look at that. You beat Sean Sinclair, you beat Dan Ginley. Look at
George Smith
Russell.
went out of the money.
Yeah, Sully, Vanderboss,
Gordon
Dodge.
Bobby Dodge.
Brett Schick cash.
Jake Gary, Dave
Look at all
McCormick.
those people out.
There's
Roger.
Raj. Look at this guy.
What?
No.
Oh wow, Roger got me by 2.
Hey, you tied Motley.
I tied with Moots.
Mott's. There you go.
There's Kev, 198.
Man, I was thinking about Rod Baca the other day. Just popped into my head.
20 strokes ahead of Kev.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I don't know. I don't remember like having any expectations, going into that event, and it was, pretty overwhelming. Being that young is certainly the furthest I'd ever traveled for an event. And then going right into Worlds the next week was, that was a huge commitment. Never been over the border, and then never been, away for any length of period for a disc golf tournament of that level. So yeah, that was pretty hardcore.
That was the year that they did the flights in Rochester too. Like I used them for Zebos recently, and people didn't believe me that it would work. But I was like, man, I didn't just dream this up. I mean, I saw somebody do it, and it worked perfectly.
With like the ABC and the different courses. That was when we were playing,
And we just did
like
threesomes,
2 rounds a day a lot of times.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we were totally
Yeah.
playing 2 rounds a day, and then it was like threesomes, and so we were literally playing like 2-hour rounds, and they'd have 2 pools in the morning and 2 pools in the afternoon at every course.
Mm-hmm.
It totally pulled it off.
Rochester knows how to put on a good do. So then
9 rounds.
you come back in 2001 to Toronto and you take 7th. You were this time 1 stroke behind Avery, and that's the year that Scott Martin won. And that was, I think, his first Super Tour. In fact, what's interesting at the island, we had a bunch of people who their first ever Super Tour win came on the island, and Avery's first ever Super Tour win came there.
Yes.
You returned in 2002. 2002 was the year that we had the garbage and ferry strike, and so we had to delay the tournament.
I remember that.
4 months or something, 3 months. At first, I thought I'd have to cancel it, but you guys all came back. You tied your second that year with Sean Sinclair, and you're only 1 stroke behind Russell, who was the winner. Kev McCoy cleaned up in the skins on that one. I think you beat everybody.
That year.
And then you come back in 2004 and you win. So like in 5 years, it only took you that long to go from, your 6th, 7th, 2nd, and 1st. That's a good Toronto resume right there. And for a multiple attendee, that's some pretty good numbers.
Yeah, no doubt. That's yeah, you're bringing back some memories for me. I remember all that. It's we talked about just some of the way that playing in certain places makes you feel and how you want it and stuff like that. And nothing but good vibes from Toronto always. That was always just a trip that I looked forward to, hanging out with you guys. All of it, it was just nothing but good. So yeah, I no doubt that that led to some of my success there.
And you've also got some international experience on your resume too, isn't that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did Japan twice. Our first Japan trip was uh I thought '07, but we actually went for the Japan Nationals, not the Japan Open.
Hmm.
And they treated us so amazing, unlike anything I've ever been a part of. Grabbed us at the airport, and from start to finish, it was a show. From renting out entire rooms for us for sushi to giving us a 12-hour tour of Tokyo to bringing us up to Nassau Highlands and just treating us like elite athletes, and certainly one of the best experiences of our lives, without a doubt. I can't thank Shimbo-san enough for that trip and the way that he treated us. And then I did go back there for the Japan Open, which is also, obviously, if you've ever been there, you just know that, that whole experience in itself is just something that everybody should check out at least once.
It's going on right
Hopefully,
now.
yeah, I was gonna say, I know they're bringing it back. Hopefully that will gain some momentum. And it's a shame that we've a lot of circumstances that went into them not doing it for so many years. But hopefully that will come back strong, because that's worth the trip in itself.
No
If there
question
wasn't a
about it.
tournament.
No question about
Um,
it. I got to play in 13, and that was one of the best trips of my
so
entire
cool.
life.
Yeah, it's just so cool just to experience a different culture and in a way of life, really. Just a different kind of attitude about life, that you learn just from everybody that's there. Certainly everyone that was surrounding the hero crew. Absolutely amazing. And then yeah, some of my other experiences to Europe. I mean, been to Finland, Finland a couple times, Sweden a couple times, and the Czech Republic was my last European trip.
Oh,
And that was just complete solo mission. I want to say there's about 8 Americans that ended up going there. And had an opportunity to check out Prague, play that event, which is just on an insane piece of property, and great course, very well done from the Discmania crew on the design of that place. Certainly elite level disc golf there. And yeah, Prague maybe 40 minutes away, so Avery and I had a chance to spend a day down there, get our good life experience in, because it can't always be about disc golf. And yeah, so I've picked some really good ones. I hope to continue to all sorts of things like that. I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, I'm trying to pick off something new every year.
yeah.
That new experience, and find there's so much good stuff out there. Why not test out something new? So this year we're planning on going to Maine. I've been to Maine a bunch of times, but different event, and we're going to try and hit some national parks, do a bunch of good family stuff.
Oh,
It's a
cool.
little different now with the kids, but they're at such a great age now where we're just ready to share those experiences, whether it be disc golf or hiking all over the place. Where we pack on some mean miles, once we're on some trips. So we're looking forward to just continuing those life adventures.
Nice. Well, definitely, life does come at you pretty fast, and it is important to step off the main road once in a while and certainly assess the scenery. Take some time to smell the flowers, do the old Ferris Bueller, Now, I want to skip ahead here, Mason. I know I'm kind of confusing you by moving around on the script.
That's all
here,
right,
but
man. Don't worry about it. You got way
What-
more information than we're ever going to be able to cover here.
way more. And it's also, Steve, just give us a sign when you're starting to flag here, because we don't want to take
Yeah,
up too
all
much
good,
of
man.
your
All
time.
good. I hope I'm not talking too much for you guys.
But
No, no.
one of the things that shakes pretty loose pretty easily from the research tree is you are a two-time Hall of Fame inductee for the New York State Disc Golf Hall of Fame and the New Jersey Hall of Fame. I believe you were inducted from both in 2021. Is that correct?
It sounds about right. Yeah, I think so. Pretty close to each other. Yeah, I think one was in August, one October, or something like that. Yep.
And in the New York Hall of Fame, you went in, I believe, with Bobby Jones and Paul Stevens.
Yeah.
And New Jersey, I can't seem to find who you. I think it was just one person you went into the Hall of Fame.
Yes, with Cubby. Yeah,
Right,
Carl
Carl
Cubbage.
Cubbage. Right. So you've mentioned, especially in the Warwick Valley Dispatch, your interview regarding the Hall of Fame there, that some of the things that the New York Hall of Fame, some of the qualities they base their members on, or their inductees on, are competitive success. Obviously, and you've got that in spades. 91.4% cash percentage. I'm not sure if that's ever going to be beat. Longevity in the sport, 29 years and going. Volunteerism locally and beyond, which you've done by running tournaments and installing courses, and efforts to grow the sport and reputation. And I think for you, that might be one of the more important things, is the reputation and the effort to grow the sport. So just maybe if you can talk to us about some of those qualities that the New York Hall of Fame was looking for, and how that really you exemplify some of those qualities.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, I think what they're trying to say is just, be a good person and to do things the right way, and yeah, it certainly seems like, if you want to leave any kind of legacy on, you want people to say that's what you did. You did things the right way. You did it for the right reasons. So, for me, that's really just a character trait more than anything. It, it certainly, I knew pretty early on, as we talked about my early involvement in sport, that I was hooked, and I'm still hooked. I still love playing, and I may not play as many events, but I'm still playing a ton. And if anything, I'm probably more revigorated now that my son's playing a ton, and we can go out and do that together, and that type of stuff. So just love of the game. If you love, if you're doing it for love of the game, then it's all gonna be right. So I said in one of my speeches that it's that I thanked Dan Doyle, who's local PDJ 310. He originally designed Buzzies. We've designed several courses together throughout the Northeast. And I had to thank him, just for allowing me the opportunity to find the sport. Because if I didn't have a course, 5 minutes from my house, none of it ever happened. So that's inspired me to try and be able to do the same thing to help develop disc golf courses. And so 3 or 4 of the most recent courses that I did were 9-holer and beginner style. One of them was at a camp in Long Island, and we had holes anywhere from 65 feet to 120 feet. And a couple of the other ones that we're doing now, I did an Innova Ace Place about 40 minutes from here, and it was in conjunction. They already had an 18-hole course on the property, and they get a decent amount of traffic. But then they did a 9-hole Ace Place, and you'd be amazed by how many people. I see more people post about the Ace Place, than I do on the regular course. It's a chance for them to bring new people out there. It's a chance for them to have success, get aces, jog through around quicker. So there's a place for all that type of stuff. And without that, maybe somebody doesn't find it. Maybe somebody found that longer course too daunting to ever give it a chance.
That's a good point.
So it's pretty cool, and I definitely think I have a knack for designing. I've been able to apply all my experience over a long time now into developing developing courses. And you know, if I can do that at a high level, and if I can do it the right way, I've got an opportunity to share the game with thousands of people that maybe never would have seen it. So I think that's a great way for me to give back, you know, and obviously, you know, just try and carry myself the best that I can. You know, I'm a competitor, you know, on the course. I want to win, you know, and as much as anybody, you know, but you know, you also try and do it, you know, you try to do it the right way, and try and treat your, you know, competitors and with respect and all that stuff too. So, you know, it's you know, you add all those things together, and if I've got a chance to be able to give back what, you know, and give somebody the same experience that I had, which has been life changing. You know, I don't meet you guys without the sport. I don't meet almost, you know, a vast majority of my friends without the sport, you
You
know.
might not
So
you might not have met Leslie without the sport. You met her in an
I
ice
I
bowl.
don't meet my wife and, you know, my kids. So yeah, it's life changing experience. And you know, so for me, when I really dig deep on it, it's like, you know, I'd be silly not to want to be able to give somebody that same experience that's life changing, and that's pretty cool.
It's pretty big
Thanks.
how big that gateway can be too, because you know, it's like I've recently I know B knows Jerry and Marie Gotcher, but I don't know if you've ever met him before, Steve. But I met Marie in art class in '90 in junior college, and she introduced me to Jerry, and he introduced me to disc golf and hockey. And you know, I mean, I still have a huge pool of friends from the entertainment business, but I'd say that nearly 2/3 of my friends and my glass art all are because I met Marie in that class. And you know, it's it's been, I mean, the group of friends is unbelievable, you know. And I mean, you're obviously a member of that group, but you also know so many of the people and are tight with so many of the people that mean a lot to me as well. And it's just amazing how you can just meet one person then and all of a sudden it's just it's like swimming through the funnel, you know. And you go through the narrow end first and then you go out the back end, and holy cow, you know, the friends the friends that we have from this are just unbelievable.
It's
Totally,
absolutely
man.
impossible to imagine your life, any of our lives, without disc golf. I mean, it would be totally different and probably a lot less interesting people. So we got that disc golf has given us. Um, I definitely, we're talking about course design. We've been mentioning it. You've talked about it. We're kind of circling around it, but one of your current and more important ventures that you're working on that you really want to open up for future growth is course design. And Brinster design is that. It's as your subtitle on your website is disc golf course architecture. And I like your whole metaphor of basically course design is painting with a 3D canvas. And being from that art background, I imagine you see shapes and colors and things differently from, I mean, everybody sees things differently, but a lot of us will just see a rock or we'll see an obstacle, and you'll see a disc golf form hidden in that rock that you're going to create and put in the International Disc Golf Center. Or you're going to see how this hole particularly, wow, look at this, all of a sudden we've got a signature 18th hole here at Warwick. um, your entire vision of design, I like what you're saying about having balance between the ultra elite level and the growth level. You're open to designing anything, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely a need for it all, you know, and there's ways to accomplish a lot within one course. You know, if you do it the right way and you have multiple tees and stuff like that, and that's, you know, if things are within budget, that's usually the biggest factor. And when you're trying to design a course that's going to be able to appease a lot of people, you know, is budget. Can how many, you know, can we have 3 4 tees on a hole? um, and do we have the space, and what are we allowed to do, what kind of manpower do we have with taking down trees or moving, you know, earth or whatever that is. So it's certainly an opportunity, you know, there to accomplish all those with design. But yeah, you touched on so many different aspects of the design that I think that are important. I mean, you know, part of what I think my success in disc golf was or is that, you know, seeing things three-dimensionally and figuring out how to attack gaps at higher percentages from better angles, those types of things help, allow me to maybe not have to throw as good of a shot to be successful. And that's a lot of gameplay that has helped me in my game, but now I translate into designing. And then, I really take a lot of pride in understanding the landscape, understanding the types of trees, knowing what's invasive species, what type, if it's softwood that's getting pushed out of an area, designing around some of those qualities, what's going to do well with more light, how that's going to look like in a couple of years from now. And there's certainly, after working a lot in Vermont, there's certain species of trees that they don't want you to take, and there's lots of permitting. There's all different levels of wetlands that we have to account for. So there's a ton of aspects that, outside the realm of disc golf that you just have to understand about the land, and then apply that, to everything that, that with disc, I always think of, when I'm thinking about design, and for, some designers, I like to say that you're walking the line of what's reasonable to ask a player to achieve, for their skill set. That's when you've got a good hole. If somebody messes up a shot and takes a bogey, it should be something that they felt they should have accomplished, but didn't, if they're playing the appropriate tee. And, and that goes for every skill set from beginner all the way up to elite level. And, so when you're designing for elite level players, you have to kind of know what's possible and what players are going to do at that level. Are they going to take a risk on, or are they going to say it's too hard, or is everybody laying up, or is 50% of the people laying up and 50% going for it? And is that what you want on this hole? And then, having diversity with all of it. So it's something I just truly love, taking all those factors into account and then being able to apply it, on all different fronts, with everything I've learned over almost 30 years of doing, playing this and being a part of the sport and watching disc fly. I'm just like overwhelmed with joy. It's like, I don't think I'd rather do anything than design disc golf courses. That's like kind of the dream. So I'd like to be doing more of that. I hope that I'll get the opportunity to take on more projects, that I'll get some of those dream properties that, that you see sometimes, and that you'll be able to put your own twist on it, because, it's far too often that, half to 70% of the courses I play are good. They're good. They're just not great. There's just not that many great courses. And it's not because the land's not good enough. It's just, there's mistakes here and there with design, and there doesn't have to be. A good designer can clean all that up. In this, in this day and age now too, we're heading into a new era of design where, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to have more opportunities with the Pro Tour to review some of their courses, and go over with some of the other designers of what improvements we need to make, what things we need to take into consideration, because we're going into an era where we're really starting to bank on having crowds on site, not just for the excitement level, but for revenue streams and for overall, just excitement of the sport. People want to see live disc golf. You can watch it on camera all day long, but it's not until you see somebody, Anthony Barella throw a 650-foot drive that you truly can grasp what's going on there and realize how, he's just a freak. And so it's, there's a great opportunity for us there. And so we need more courses that can not only offer those types of things, but then have amenities and have room for crowds and concessions and all that type of stuff. So we're going into that era now where we're going to have to start taking all those things into account, and our venues are going to take a different shape. It's not always going to be about, the traditional course that has a long legacy, but we're going to have to start to apply some of these other rules, what we're going to need to grow the sport.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that's coming along with that is that, it seems to me like most people used to say, well, 15 or 20 acres will probably do you pretty good for an 18-hole course. But I think we're gonna have to start looking for, maybe double that at some point in the not too distant future, if not already. And that's probably gonna make the job a little bit harder. Finding pieces of land, like land that are available like that.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, we got the popularity's on our side now, and when because more people know about it, it's a little bit easier to accept, those types of budgets. It's we've been putting in $200,000 baseball fields for the last 20 years. Every
Longer than
city
that.
and or across, well, maybe they didn't cost that much, but yeah, they these things have been going on forever, and they find budget for that type of stuff because they know there's demand. And you only, you're going to get 22 kids out there, playing a game, where of course, for the same budget, let's say, you're getting a couple hundred rounds, spinning through there. So, the more popularity we gain, I think the easier access we're going to have to some of these bigger budget projects. And, you're going to find land areas that never had a chance of being any kind of a sports field, but it could be a great disc golf course, due to
That's true.
elevation
That's a very good point.
and features, whether it be wetlands or lakes or, all those types of things that we love that aren't good for anything else. So those opportunities they're out there, and they're becoming more plentiful now every day as we get, a little bit, not just recognition, but appreciation, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel the momentum. Definitely, the groundswell is getting huge, and like you say, it's when the urge, when the need, when the desire comes from the ground floor up, then the people above can smell the opportunities and be like, oh well, hey, look, this is perfect time to open this. And I mean, just in our career, we've seen go from public parks and 300-foot holes max to private land and, you know, I don't know, 9,000-foot courses, maybe 10,000-foot courses. So, and that's not really like in terms of metrics of evolutionary growth, that's not too huge. And it seems like we're starting to get it on pace for a lot quicker and bigger. And if you position yourself in the place that you can start to either be in the vanguard, lead things forward, or be there to reap the imminent rewards, I mean, I think you're doing a perfect job of that. You've got 18 under your belt and 1,800 more to go.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so. It's it really is just like such a good opportunity to just take so much knowledge and put it to work that I feel like it would be a missed opportunity if I didn't do more of it.
Well, I don't know, Mace, do you have any other things? Because I think that's a beautiful way that we could just close it up. You've spat a lot of wisdom already, and you've got a lot of great quotes out there and a really great approach to the game, to the future, and to keeping yourself grounded. I like the fact that the first thing you want to think of when you're done your round is you get to see your kids, and that keeps you infinitely much more grounded than someone who doesn't have that. So
Yeah, you know what? I got one thing to share. Let's see if I can do it real quick and easy. But along that same line, oh, maybe I can't do it real quick and easy. Let's see here. So I found this picture of you and the Twinsters, and I thought it was particularly cool because it does talk just about. You know what? Let me find this and not drag you through it real quick. But just the things like, hey, and there's the boss right there.
Okay, since we have Leslie here, I wanted to just share this photo because I think this is the two of you guys just putting it on. Look at this. Come on. That's,
So do you guys
I
know where
mean,
that is?
do you
No.
know, do you know where that is, you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, we know where it is. I was wondering if you guys picked up
I
on
don't
it.
have no idea.
What you know what color they call that, right?
Coral.
It's Nantucket Red.
Oh,
there
there you
you
go.
So
Your favorite
that's one
place
of
to
the
be.
traditions is if you win the Nantucket Open, you get a Nantucket Red jacket.
Okay.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
Wow.
every
Okay.
year the winners go out and we wear our Nantucket jackets out to the dinner at night. And
Wow.
And we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, so there's not that many winners, so it's great. So we all, me and Uli wear it in front of Germ and talk about how he hasn't won one and how cool it is.
That's hilarious.
All right. Did you cue yours up there, Mace?
No, I couldn't get to it while you were
Okay.
showing that off, but I'm getting it. All right, well, here's one. This one's really cool, I think, because I put this in your description that you're like a master's sniper. Although I read from Bellier, like, look at this group. If I showed up to a Masters tournament, obviously minus Devin, I'm going to be a little bit worried.
Yeah.
Like that's 3 40-year-old snipers that are going to take some people down right there, right?
Yeah, man. Kale got to play with him in Arizona this year, and yeah, I mean, he's a young buck. He's he decided to hop right in. He's still 39, and he's doing it out there with us. Makes me wish that I would have popped over a little sooner. It took me like 3 years.
Well,
I'm finding this. Oh, here's the other one. This one I think is really cool too, for obvious reasons. Let's see here. Here it is. Oh no, I'm not there. This just didn't have Leslie in there, but like that's the whole family vibe for sure.
Aww.
Oh yeah, Maple Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Getting to drag them up to some tournaments, even at an early age. They didn't really know what was going on, but they had a chance to watch Dad, and definitely super fun.
I really had a good time hanging out with them last year at the Vendor Village, because as soon as Leighton found out that there was a putting contest and he could qualify as many times as he wanted, he was over there qualifying every day. And once Lydia met Lola, Lydia was over there hanging out with Lola, my buddy Tong's dog, every day as well. So that was good times hanging out with them for sure.
Absolutely, man. Well, looking forward to many more.
You guys are like the Jenkins of the new millennium. That's an awesome thing. So there's not to say there's big expectations for Lydia and Leighton to win the worlds, but brother and sister combo have already won the worlds already. So
that would be cool.
Future's written in the
That would
clouds
be very
there.
cool. Without a doubt.
He has his heart set on being the first father-son U.S. champion. So it's a goal already.
Awesome.
That's
awesome
already.
You played a long time. You played 14 years, 13 before the 14th lucky year at the USDGC, and you had your eyes set on that prize. So, patience is a virtue, and also going back to the drawing board and applying all the lessons, and I mean, you're an extremely smart guy, so you know how to do it right. The repetition is the quality of it all, not going out there and just playing constant rounds with your friends. And to quote you, great practice brings great results. So you tell that to Leighton.
It'd be really cool.
Will do, man.
That would be the first father-son that have my trophies as well.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, it's hanging out. We had it
got...
hanging out back here, actually. I'll show you real quick. So we had that.
You were the first one, man.
Look at
that. To show B that we still had these other stained glass ones. So yeah, this was.
Look at that.
Yeah, those are awesome too.
We have these out. Oh yeah.
Look at those. Wow.
These
this is the year we both got third place.
These mom made those trophies, y'all.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's still one of the there's not a ton that make it into the trophy case, but these are amongst the coolest ever. So
I'm gonna tell my mom that, and it's gonna make her day, my friend.
It's so awesome, cool, when you see those kind of things in people's homes. And I've seen, I've been lucky enough to see my trophies in some folks' homes so far, but I've seen far more of your mom's trophies in people's homes than I've seen in mine so far. So that's really cool as well.
Oh, you can't see that, but you made me a little wire basket, Steve.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, just some kind of bronze or brass wire, I don't know. And that's hanging in my office in some place and time since I think you gave that to me at your wedding. So 15 years of that. Yeah.
There you go.
So lots of love for you guys, man. It's time goes too quickly, but it doesn't look like it's changed you guys in a second. You guys look awesome, and you look radiant, and you definitely are radiating our love. So Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for gracing us with some really awesome stories about disc golf and about life. Thank you.
Love you
Dude,
guys.
Thank you, man. It
Yeah,
was great
love you
talking to
guys too. Thanks for spending the time. We really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing y'all in person real soon.
Hope so.
Sounds
Yeah.
good, man.
Bye.
Be well, guys.
Okay.
All right, have
guys.
a good one. Yo,
Yo,
dude, that was another good one for sure.
that was a great show.
I'm gonna
He
turn
was a
off the
great
recording.
guest.
I'm
I was
killing the recording.